The Civil Rights Act of 1964 bill talks about President Johnson prohibited discrimination in public places, provided for the integration of schools and other public faculties, and made employment discrimination illegal. Here shows President Johnson signing the bill, while Martin Luther King Jr. stands behind him, along with several other lawmakers. Civil Rights Act of 1964 also addressed the issue of segregation. Title 3 and 4 of the 1964 Act allows the Attorney General to sue public schools and state and local government facilities that discriminate or segregate on the basis of race. This gave the AG only a fraction of the authority that congressional liberals had long sought. For those who do not know what desegregation of public education means, it means the assignment of students to public schools within such schools without regard to their race, color, religion, or national origin. But desegregation shall not mean the assignment of students to public schools in order to overcome racial imbalance. Title 6 of the Act deals with non-discrimination in federally assisted programs, meaning no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Title 7 of the Act addresses equal employment opportunity, which prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Title 2 of the Act injunctive relief against discrimination in places of public accommodation, which means all persons shall be entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of the goods, services, facilities, and privileges, advantages, and accommodations of any place of public accommodation as defined in this section without discrimination or segregation on the ground of race, color, religion, or national origin. Did you know that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. met for the first and only time during Senate debate on the act? The two leaders met briefly on March 26, 1964, while they were both on Capitol Hill to hear debate on the 1964 Civil Rights Act. They barely said 6 words to each other. Known for his direct rhetoric in denouncing America's treatment for African Americans, Malcolm X was a stark contrast to King, who preached tolerance and peace in achieving equal rights. The 1964 law didn't do much to address discrimination at the ballot box. Black men were granted the right to vote in 1870 under the 15th Amendment. Women followed 50 years later. Yet many obstacles, including literacy tests and poll taxes, prevented most blacks in the South from casting ballots. Just a few months before the Voting Rights Act, the 24th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified to remove poll taxes as a condition for voting in federal elections. All the 1964 Civil Rights Act did was to mandate the same voting rules nationwide. It wasn't until the following year that the 1965 Voting Rights Act would suspend the use of literacy tests. The act didn't help just Black Americans. Women, religious minorities, Latinos, and whites also benefited from the Civil Rights Act, which would later serve as a model for other anti-discrimination measures passed by Congress, including the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Pregnancy Discrimination Act. Under the Civil Rights Act, women who had been fired because they became pregnant or were not hired because they had small children now had a recourse. As a result of the Title VII male-only job notices became illegal for the first time, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was also created by the law, giving women a workable hammer with which to shatter glass ceilings. Thank you for taking the time to watch my slideshow on the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed learning about this. Thank you again. My name is Seth Haley, and this concludes my presentation.